got a name on your phone?
Don't throw.
Dave, you wanna sit here? Dave,
Yeah.
designated seats. Your name's on the back. You
Yeah,
see it.
it's right here. It's written in the top.
Alright, hey, good afternoon, y'all. I remember a few months ago, me and Tony were just talking about this, and that was real. So I'm gonna introduce Tony Howard to do his thing. Come fight for God.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming here today. My name's Tony Howard. I'm a former professional boxer, former state kickboxing champion, and former prison inmate, 263-192. And what this is, what you guys see here is a ministry that started about 4 years ago in Michigan City at Indiana State Prison. You know, when you guys think about your childhood, you think about, you know, doing stuff with your parents, playing ball, going camping, doing things like that. Well, the biggest memory I have of my childhood is watching a stepdad pick a rock up and he bust my mom in the face with it. And I'm like 9 or 10, you know, and I started screaming, you know, stop hitting her, you know, and he didn't. And she had blood coming out of her face and stuff. And I remember that night, I took my pillow and I just punched with everything I had. And I said, someday I'm gonna get tough enough and no one's ever gonna hit my mom or me ever again. And that's just what I did. And this is in the 70s. And, you know, I was a poor kid, living in trailer parks. I didn't play in school sports because I didn't have the nice shoes. My socks were gray, they weren't white, and I played in the parks most of my time. But like I said, we didn't have video games, cell phones, and the biggest thing to do in town was to go to the movie theater. And there was this movie coming, it was called Rocky. And you know, and I wanted to see it really bad, so I stole a bunch of pop bottles and stuff and sold them. That's what you did back then. And I don't know how I did it, but I got the money up. I couldn't afford popcorn or pop. I got in and I got to see it. And I was watching him, you know, I seen so much of myself. You know, this guy was very uneducated, living in a crappy apartment just like I was in, but he wanted to be really tough, and that's what I wanted. And so, you know, when you see the scene in there where he cracks and raw eggs and drinks and he starts playing Rocky music and he starts training. Well, the next day, I put the eggs in there, I drank them, I threw up about killed me. I couldn't do that, but I did start training. And found this little boxing club. And I'm going to show you guys something, and remember this because I'm going to come back to it. Carl reached down, folks. But when you go to a boxing club, the first thing they'll teach you, you know, you think is all these real good moves and stuff, but the most important thing is to keep your hands up. Keep from getting hit. It's really important. You know, you see things coming at you. You're still going to get hit, but you block most of them. And then the first thing they throw you, the most important punch you'll ever learn is a jab. And sometimes you want to fight just with that jab. It's a good straight jab, like that. And then, you know, you teach some combinations, just like that. And then you just got to practice and practice and practice. After you've done that for a while, it looks a little something like this. But, you know, you guys can get what I'm trying to say. But, and I did that, and I just kept learning how to box and stuff. And this stepdad of mine, he would come in the bedroom and beat me up and stuff. And this happened twice in my life. One time I was in the bathroom, and he was yelling at my mom. And I blacked out, and my monster, when I came to, he was all bloody, and they had taken him to the hospital, and I had to go stay at my grandma's until things calmed down. And when I come home, he had a padlock in his bedroom door, and he told me he didn't want me to steal cigarettes. My mom told me he was scared of me. And it started building an ego up inside of me. I'm 13, 14, fighting grown men, and you know, I'm beating them. And that ego kept going and stuff. And like I said, I grew up in a small town, played in parks. I met this girl at the park. I had 3 kids. They were really good at sports. I mean, they all of them caught a box because, you know, they were my kids, you know what I mean? I come home from work, I make dinner, then I have to go to the club, get me ready for my next fight. And that's what I did my whole life. And there's this kid in our town, I'm from Auburn, and they have this auction park called Cruise International. And on Labor Day, they have the best cars in the world come there, all the Ford Duesenbergs, Mustangs, Camaros, and the family name was Cruz. They had a son, his name was Mitch, and I was really jealous of him because he had everything and I had nothing, you know. And I watched him. He's a really good basketball player. Even when I quit school, I go back and watch him play basketball. Well, I'll talk a little bit more about him later, but anyway, he ended up owning that auction park, and I kept on with my kids and stuff, and I got this job at a place called the Auburn Foundry. And at the time, it was the best job in the world. And you got a big Christmas bonus, and I'd always be able to give my kids a Christmas that I never had. and that was important to me. And I had that job for about 10 years. You know, I started doing drugs and drinking, you know, as any fighter does. And finally, after 10 years, I got fired. And the whole town knew, because at the time I was a state champion, kickboxing champion. And, you know, everybody knows who you are. When I got fired, everybody knew about it. It was embarrassing. And I had taken a job making like $5 less an hour. And for some reason, there was a Sunday, this guy said, why don't you come to church with me? So I said, all right, you know, I go. And this country preacher that I worked with at that foundry, he was a preacher there. And it seemed like that day he was preaching just to me. But at the end of the service, they had the altar call. And I felt like he just pulled me up there. So I went up there and I got saved. And then so did my wife. And it's just like, just everything changed. You know, I wasn't making money, but man, I was actually happy. And you know, and I can't, it's hard to explain it to you, but I just knew no matter what, I just felt safe. I went to church 3 times a week. We had a great, you know, good church life. And, you know, I believe in miracles. And my wife, she come from a good family. And at the time, they were bringing a steel mill into town. It's called Steel Dynamics. And my wife's uncle was actually helping build it. Well, they got he got me a interview there. And I went there and went through 3 interviews, and they said, you can have the job except one thing, you need a GED. And I had been in school in 20 years, I couldn't even spell GED. And you know, and I'm like, so I didn't have time to study. So I just got on my knees and asked God, you know, I really need this, you know, this company's looking at me, the whole town's looking at me, my wife, kids, we need this, you know. And you had to have a 55 or better to pass. So I went in there and it was a multiple choice. You know, I might as well just close my eyes because I guessed on 90% of it. And I went back to my job and I was working it. And about 2 weeks later, the results came in. And I remember it like yesterday. My wife pulled up, she pulled the envelope out, had a smile on her face. I opened it up and I passed. Like, I remember you had to have a 55, and this is what I think the miracle was. I got a 57. I got a GED, and I got the job. The only thing about the job, though, is you had to work a lot of Sundays, and I started missing church, and started getting this ego going, you know. I met some great people at this steel mill. One's Ricky Rollins, great milk shop manager, but I went to the bank, and I had bad credit, but because I had that good job, it's like $80,000 a year. And because of that job, he sold me a brand new home in a town away from the town I was from, and about killed the kids, but I had to go. And my ego just kept getting bigger and bigger, and just letting God out of my life, you know. I started taking credit for everything instead of being humble. And eventually I left that job because my son was scoring 3 and 4 touchdowns on Friday night, and I'm up in a train, you know, I couldn't take that. So I left that and kept on drinking and stuff. And finally my wife divorced me, and it was really bad, you know. I was drinking all the time. I'd get like 5 fights in one day, and my face all tore up and stuff. And finally things calmed down a little bit, and I got this cleaning business. Because when I box, when you fight professionally, these sponsors pay to put their name on your trunks. But a cell phone company, it did that, and the guy that I knew from boys school, he was married to like the vice president. He was in charge of all the cleaning services that come there. So he hired me to start his cleaning business. And then me and him, because you know, we're just from the streets, he said for every store he gave me, I'd give him $100. But before you know it, he's paying me for stores I didn't even go to. And this thing, I mean, I'm not lying, my last year I made $400,000. I was driving an Escalade, had 300 cars, a brand new Harley. Ego as big as Texas. And that was going on for a long time, you know, I mean, and for about 5 years. And then finally they caught on to it. And one phone call, I was making $60,000 a month with a check. I didn't get to keep it all because I had to pay him off. But one phone call, I lost everything. I mean, I was sitting in a house with a $7,000 TV on the thing. And this Mexican chick, you know, she didn't last long. And the electricity got turned off. I had a fish tank, and this friend stopped by, and there's a dead fish floating up. And I'm sitting in this kerosene thing smoking a joint. It's like, man, you know, you're not doing so good, you know. And, you know, God was out of my life. And I ended up moving back in with my mom because the drugs just got so bad. I don't know why, you know, it's like when you're poor, you do the worst drugs, but I did. And I started smoking mouth, and my nose been broke so many times in boxing that I couldn't snort it anymore, so I started shooting it. And one time something happened and my arm blew up. I don't know if you can see it or not, but they took a vein out of my arm. It goes all the way down to the bone here. And I'm very proud of that. They almost took my arm off. That's how bad it was. And she was with this guy, my mom, and he wasn't physically abusive to her, but he was verbally abusive to her. He would threaten her and stuff all the time. And remember I told you when I was younger, I blacked out. This happened again. But when I came to, the neighbors' ladies were pulling me off of him, and there was blood all over. I had blood all over me, and you know, I blacked out. I didn't know what I was doing, you know, and I wasn't even high. You know, this is at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And the police report said that I put 13 staples in his head. I broke his nose, knocked his teeth out. I broke ribs on both sides, and I broke his spleen. And that's what almost killed him. They put me in jail and charged me with attempted murder. And you know, that's hard to describe what goes through your mind. You know, I'm 49 years old. I'm looking at 60 years, open shut case. You know, I'm done. You know, it's like. And they put me in solitary confinement because I was getting fights that blew in my mind. It was just crazy. And I don't know, for some reason, you know, when you're in a situation like that, you start thinking back in your life, where did you go wrong? What happened? You know, and I knew God was out of my life, but one thing that I wanted to do is try to make some kind of amends. And even my mom's boyfriend, that hurt really bad. I wanted her to know I really didn't mean to hurt you that bad. I might want to beat you up, I didn't want to do that, you know. And I wanted to make amends to her. So he came up to the jail, he started crying, I'm crying. I said, I probably never see you again, so I want you to know that, you know, I really didn't mean to do that. And I guess you'd have to be there, you know. A lot of people, even the guards, say, I've done the same thing. You know, I don't know if you would. 'Cause you hurt somebody like that, it bothers you, and if it don't, it should. But anyways, he went and talked to the prosecutor and the judge, and they knocked it down from 60 years. I was going to try sign a 25-year plea, which is pretty much the rest of my life at 49 years old. And when we went into court, they come out and said, and he came in the courtroom and started crying, said, you know, I was mean to his mom. You know, I don't want him to spend the rest of his life in prison. He doesn't deserve that. So instead of 25 years, they said, well, you sign a 12-year sentence. You're going to do 6 years in prison, 6 years on paper. And I said, give me the pen, you know, and I signed it right then. And, you know, and I think then that's when God was really blessing me. But right before then, that guy I told you about, that Mitch Cruz that I was really jealous about, he had sold that Cruz Auction Park and become a minister. He had his own TV show. It's called Restoration Road, because you know how you take an old car and restore it? It's the way God does to people's lives, you know. And you guys have a TV show on Sunday morning. It's really cool. But I'm in jail and I'm writing to like 30 preachers just before I went to court. You know, I'm like, want somebody to come pray with me, and you know, I was scared to death. I'm going to prison. And out of all the preachers that could show up, this Mitch Cruz showed up. And all of them, you know, like he's famous in our town. And everybody like, oh my God, Mitch Cruz is here, you know. And I'm like, he's here to see me, you know, freak me out. And what's weird is when he came, he brought me this exact book. He brought me this book that he helped write. It's called Your Next Best Steps. It's with Gordon Bell. And he talked about 10 principles of how you're going to put something together. I didn't know it was going to help me build a ministry like this, but it did, you know. And I read it, you know, because at the time I was thinking about doing a nonviolent foundation. I didn't know what I thought about it, you know, but something different what I was doing. But I always remember that. That meant a lot to me that he did that. And I didn't have to go to court with him thinking, you know, I just, you know, I wasn't smart enough. I should have thought of that, but, you know, I didn't. And so when you commit a crime like that, like I talked to a guy earlier, you know, I was sent to the two most notorious prisons in the state, Westville and Michigan City. And when I got to Westville, you know, I'm scared to death. And when they said, when in jail, they said, when you get there, they know you beat up somebody and you're a fighter. So they're going to test you. And I go, what do you mean? They said, they're going to fight you. And, you know, I've got tattoos that just represent fight on me. That's all it says. And so I'm scared to death. You know, I'm like, well, if I'm going to fight, I'm going to get in shape, you know. So I didn't have no background, so I do like a boxing aerobics, just doing nothing like this, bounce around myself, get ready, so, you know, when they come, I'll be ready, you know, that's all I know what to do. They put me in, I went to RDC, and they put me to Westville, GSC side, because, you know, I attempted murder on my charge, and put me in there with some real nice guys. And I went out on the yard, you know, you're talking 120 of some of the most violent, you know, criminals in the state. And, you know, and there are little gangs here and there. And I'm from Auburn. I don't know anything about gangs except what I've seen on TV. So I'm out in the yard, and I'm doing the boxing thing, you know, not thinking nothing about it. And I didn't realize how I made myself look to them. And it's about the 5th day there. I was in the shower, and when I got done, I put on my boxers, getting ready to get out. And these 5 gang members came in. And, you know, through my life, I've been beat up a lot, but it's nothing like this. They swelled my eyes shut, knocked one of my teeth out, and broke my jaw, and they kicked me in state boots. I still got a dent in my head, it won't come out, and but it was bad. And they put me in the infirmary for 4 days because I couldn't see. And then after 4 days, my one eye I could see and the other one, was open. They put me in my cell. I didn't go to chow. I didn't leave my cell. I was scared, I really was. And finally I said, well, I'm probably gonna die here. So I had to go out to the yard. So I went out there and started working out again, just getting ready for the next one. I didn't know what else to do. And I'm doing this, and all of a sudden 20 of them surrounded me. And I said, this is where I'm gonna die. I really did. And I'm just sitting there shaking, nobody said nothing. And finally the leader come in from behind me, goes, what do you think you're doing? And I said, I don't know. I said, I'm just getting ready for the next fight. I'm sitting there on my knees and knocking and stuff. And he goes, we run this place. And I said, I'm not trying to run nothing. I finally told him, I'm just an old man. Somebody tried to hurt my mom. I beat him up. I'm here. I told her I was going to be tested. And, and I'm just getting in shape. It's the only thing I know to do. I don't know anything about gangs. He goes, have you ever trained anybody? I go, I've trained pro fighters, amateur fighters. He goes, you ever trained any probates? And I really didn't know much what a probate was. Somebody that's trying to get into a gang, they do a lot of exercises. Sometimes they even got to stab somebody to get into the gang. And I go, why do you want me to do that? He goes, if you train our probates, we'll keep coffee, give you food in your box, make sure nobody messes with you while you're here. And I said, okay, and they said, and it was, I'm going to say the names of the gangs, but it's the biggest one there. And they said, you can train with the other ones too. Because before I left Westville, there were 2 different yards. I was training 4 different gangs. And I had respect from everybody. Everybody knew I was just an old school boxer. Everybody called me coach. It was really cool. And, it was a heck of a way to get respect, but I got it, And I had to learn a lot of stuff about gangs and everything, because, like I said, I didn't know anything about how to handle yourself, what you do, what you don't do. If you walk by somebody getting beat up or getting beat in, it's just that's your business. You got to keep on walking. Prison life was hard, and everything was cool there. And then they transferred me to Michigan City, and they messed up my paperwork, and they put me behind a wall. I was supposed to go back there. These are some real killers. They got death row and all that stuff back there. And I learned from Westville. I didn't want to go in there and do my boxing thing, because I didn't want none of that. The gangs already knew I was coming, so I got there. And they gave me all kinds of stuff. It was really cool. If you're going to be there. But so what I did is every now and then I take one guy. I train him a little bit. He paid me and stuff. Just separate, and I went on like that for a while, and then that's when it actually happened to me. I was in my cell one night, and I woke up, and I didn't hear him audibly say it, but I could feel it, and I could just hear it echoing, you're fighting out of the wrong corner. I didn't understand what that meant, and I'm like, and I could go back to sleep, because at the time, I'd still been writing that Smith's Cruise. I've been writing back and forth, and at the time, by then, he actually sent me his own book, The Restoration Road. We've been going back and forth, and I didn't tell him everything that went on in prison or my mom. I didn't want them to know everything that was really going on, how bad it was. But and I asked God in that cell. I said, if you're trying to tell me something, you got to explain this to me, because I don't like mean fighting out of the wrong corner. And the next 3 days, he showed me how to fight a spiritual fight, and it's just weird. The next day, I was reading the book of Ephesians. And I stayed in my room for 3 days. And it's the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 10, where it says, you're no longer fighting the flesh. I'm no longer fighting a boxing match. I'm not fighting a prison fight, a street fight. I'm fighting against real fights. Addiction, sin, Satan, things that, this world that you guys all live in can fight. And, it's just different for me. And, and I had to learn it all from the start. That chapter there meant a lot to me. She talked about how holding your feet firmly, and how to put on the belt of peace, the righteousness of chest. I had to learn all that, what that actually meant. Some simple guy barely got a GED, but I studied it and seen what he would really mean, and talked to some of my mentors in there and stuff that were talking to me, and they kind of helped me explain it. And get back to the boxing training. Remember when I told you, first thing you learn is how to keep your hands up to keep from getting hit. But one thing that I learned, I don't know how I learned this, but he said, in the morning I do this. I keep my hands up like this, and I'm praising God.
Amen.
And I can see things coming at me. I still get hit. I can't block them all, but I see for the most part. I keep my hands up. And it says in the book of Ephesians that, everything's about a defensive thing, but the only really offense thing you have is the Word of God. It's called two-edged sword. And to me, that's a jab. And like I said before, if you keep that jab going in an opponent's face, it's hard for them to hit you. You're trying to just keep that jab going. Sometimes just studying the Word of God is that jab. You don't know anything else to do. Just keep studying. Just keep throwing it out. Keep focused on that. And it's just weird how I learned how to do that. I'm a boxer, and I'm learning how to do all this stuff. It's really cool. And and then I had this vision of this corner, in God's corner, traveling around and just telling you guys kind of the story I just told you. proud of everybody to do this, you know. And then 3 months before I got released, I got a phone call, and my mom passed away. And that still hurts, but I didn't understand why. You know, I'm mad at God, I'm mad at everybody, and I try to keep my hand up like that, I started letting them down, you know. They're getting mad, I'm not studying as much in the Bible. When I got released, I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of. I broke a lot of laws, I OD, did all kind of crazy stuff, and ended up in this Avenues in Fort Wayne. I met Carl there, and they said, well, you're probably going back to prison because I had a violation. And I said, all right. My kids wouldn't even talk to me because they said they were tired of watching me kill myself. They just couldn't do it anymore. And that really hurt, you know, because I was mad at them. And I didn't understand that. And my son told me this. He says, Dad, your whole life you told us, it doesn't matter how tough you are in the ring. It's a guy that works hard, he's going to do his wife, and tries to do what's right. That's the bad guy. That's a tough guy. And you know, at first I said, how dare you talk to me like that? But now, I'm so proud of all the things I've done in my life that he could remember that. Even though he's talking mean to me, you know, he said, don't call me unless you can do that, and hung up. And so I'm in Avenues, and I'm getting ready to get released, and they didn't know where to put me, because, you know, most places said, well, we're not going to take you, you're probably going back to prison. And then this girl named Shannon, she goes, would you ever consider moving? I said, I don't want to move, you know, I got my daughter, my granddaughter, now my mom's gone. And times she wouldn't even talk to me. And she goes, I think there's this place in Marion, it's called the Hope House, I think you'd thrive there. And I thought, all right, I'll go down there for their 6-month program, and, you know, if they send me to prison, I go up, I come back, whatever, you know, I just move back, everything will be all right. Then this Shane Beal came pick me up. They didn't tell me he was an attorney, which made me nervous. And I had to drive back with him. It was crazy, because, you know, my mom passed away, and I wrote her a letter on her birthday, and I put it on a balloon, and I sent it up to her. And one of the things my mom did, you know, she was really poor, is when I was out there, even when I was little, when I had a job, I would, when I got paid, I'd buy her cheeseburger, fries, and Coke, and it'd make her happy, because she's so poor, because, you know, it's cool, you know. And I always told her in prison, when I got out, I said, you know, you know the first thing I want to do is, yeah, I know you're going to give me a cheeseburger, fries, and Coke, you know. I was never able to do that, and there's a reason I'm telling her that. But Shane brought me here to this Hope House, and I said my mom's letter, I said, you know, Mom, I went to this house, it's nicer than any house that we lived in growing up. I said, the guys in there are really great. They're showing me how to live a different life. I said, you know, even if I go to prison, I'm learning a lot. But when I went to court, Shane went with me. Being an attorney, he kind of helped me, and they gave me one chance. My sentence was sentenced to the Hope House. Not just stay there, now you're sentenced to, you know, so that's kind of more than I wanted, you know, so it's kind of really cool. But, you know, and coming here, this whole thing would have never happened. I wouldn't be talking to you guys. This ministry wouldn't be here if I wouldn't have come to Marion. And Marion's my home now. I mean, my kids don't ever move back, you know, because you go back to what you were, you know, I get it, you know. I mean, I have friends here that, you know, Cam, you know, you guys just know what you mean, and it's amazing. And, you know, but get back to the training, you know, each day I post something on Ain't God's Corner Facebook, and it's battles I have to face every day. And there's a combination I use every day. It's called Fight, Faith, and Forgive. And that forgive is the most important thing. I even had to go back to the guy that beat me up, beat my mom up that day, and forgive him. And I wasn't saying that what he did was right, but it released me from that cell, from, you know, from having it over me all the time. I hope that someday he found Christ and never did that to another kid, you know, and had a good life. I really do. I really mean it with all my heart. And I had to do that, you know, and it still happens every day, you know. You call me a short guy, I might not forgive you in 5 minutes, it might take me a couple days. It's just things like that I learned, and it's just training. And just like in boxing, you know, you have to train every day to stay in shape for when things come at you. Everything's a preparation. The same things when, you know, we go to these meetings, we work these steps, you know, we go to church, you know, we do a Bible study. That's preparing, not just so you got all this knowledge for no reason. It's for when things happen to you. Things happen to Christians all the time, but, you know, they're in shape. They know how to take things. And it still hurts them just like it does anybody. But they train for that. They prepare for that. You know, I mean, like relapses and stuff, you know, you got to do steps before it happens to you, you know, learn how to keep your hands up. You know, how to keep throwing that jab out there. And, you know, that's what I do every day is I train in God's Corner, and that's what I call it. That Mitch Cruz, I still talk to him every day. And I lost that book for a minute. And I called him, I said, I lost that book that you and Gordon Bell wrote me. Can you give me one? He goes, well, give me a couple of days. I said, all right. Then I get a phone call. The Gordon Bell, that authored the book, called me and freaked me out. And this guy set up business all over the United States, you know. And he prayed for me over the phone. I'm getting ready to have lunch with him in about a month. And he sent me 20 more books to give out to my friends and stuff. And it's really cool, you know. It's just another thing that's happened by me just training every day. That's all I do every day is to try to do things. You know, I still make mistakes and stuff, you know. But I train every day to keep what life I have now and keep winning these battles that used to kill me, you know. Things that, you know, I never thought I'd ever even bother me that much, but they were, that anger. You know, when I blacked out, I hope I would never black out again. I mean, I really don't. I don't box anymore. I'm too old. I don't want to do that anymore. And, you know, some of the little weapons I use, you know, when you've hurt people a lot in your life, is just try to pick out something nice to do to somebody every day. Or try to do something nice for somebody that ain't doing so good. And one thing I do is like that cheeseburger I told you about my mom. I call it the Norma Jean meal. I find somebody that's not doing very well, I buy them a cheeseburger, fries, and Coke, and tell them this is the Norma Jean meal. And it reminds me of my mom. It makes me cry. And it's just a good thing, you know. And like I said, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. Just keep training in God's Word, keep winning battles, so my kids know how to fight battles when they come, you know. Train other people when they, maybe some things happen to them in their life. You know how much that forgiveness is so big a part. You know, we ask God to forgive us, but we go back through our lives and see what we've been hurt, or people's damaged us, and be able to forgive them. It's not easy, you know. Sometimes it takes time, you know. I didn't do it overnight, you know. It takes days praying. But you know when it comes, you know, and you don't do it for them, you're doing it for yourself. So, you know, you're free from all that. And I won a lot of battles in my life, a lot of boxing matches, but you know, and those kids that didn't talk to me, I talk to them every day now. And it means everything. And, you know, every day I try to, you know, just help other people, you know, that's, you know, been where I've been in prison, beat up kid, you know, try to be a Rocky in life, you know. I mean, that's really cool, you know. I hope that you guys can find the same training that I get and training His Word each morning. And remember to keep your hands up, praising God. Keep that jaffle on, and I think you'll be all right. I thank you guys for listening to me.
That was good. All right, so go over those 3 points again. Yeah, don't hit me. So fighting, faith,
And fighting means training
and
the Word of
forgiveness,
God.
and it's a constant, right? Yeah, that's a lesson for all of us. We are in a fight, right? We are in a spiritual fight, and we have to be able to grasp that there isn't a time that there isn't a time that we're not in a fight. We have to accept that reality, and just having faith that God will meet us what He's calling us to. And so you have other things in the pipeline, right? Mm-hmm. Which is awesome. You're not sharing yet.
We're planning on starting a boxing club here in Marion this fall. And we're going to get kids and not only teach them to box, but, you know, teach them about addictions and other things that are going to come at them. You know, people don't understand, you know, when you get saved and stuff, doesn't mean that you're never going to get hit. You go to a boxing club, they say, if you do everything I tell you, you're never going to have to worry about getting hit. They're lying to you. You're going to get hit. This is boxing. Same thing in life, you know, it's going to come at you. And, you know, and then one thing we want to do is once a month, if we get this going, is have speakers come in once a month, have the kids and their parents come. So we're teaching more than just, you know, box. We want to have good grades, you know, showing that. And, you know, and I promote, you know, a lot of fights and stuff, you know, but to promote, you know, what they do is good, you know, the grade, you know, staying drug free, you know, they're listening to people that, from the Hope House, from the Mission, places like that rebuilt their life, you know. I have a great sponsor, Mark, who's been like a brother to me all through all this, you know, and it takes work, you know. I mean, you know, like I said, when you first go to a club, you don't know what you're doing. It takes time to learn how to have the moves and stuff. Same thing, staying sober and fighting this Christian life. You know, you have to train very hard every day. You know, and there's 90-year-old women that are a lot more spiritually in shape than most of us. I'm telling you, some real champions. But yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
All right, hey, join me in prayer, guys.
All right.
Lord, we know that all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to His purposes, and we see a purpose in Tony's life. It's been through hills and valleys and light and dark times, but you can use everything in our past to bring about your glory. And Lord, I pray right now that you would continue to make any crooked paths straight, and that you would lighten any dark places, and that you would set his feet constantly on solid ground. let this be a lesson to us to engage in the fight, use faith in a way that we put our complete reliance on you, move forward, and we forgive people and even forgive ourselves as you have forgiven us as we march forward. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, man.